Welcome to the Mindset Mechanics Podcast with Juan and Ladybug Jenkins. It's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. The shop is open, so pull on in.
Welcome to Mechanical Monday. You are in the shop. I am Ladybug Jenkins, your mindset mechanic, reminding you that it's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. And when you do that, you can accelerate into the life of your dreams. In today's episode titled Blindsided, we are going to discuss the topic of basically when life starts lifing and how it can affect our relationships and our mental space. So if you don't know what a blind spot is, that is when you are driving and there is that portion in your peripheral vision, meaning the cars on either side of you, maybe behind you. It's different for everyone, and it is called a blind spot. And so oftentimes you'll have that feeling that there's not a car there, and then it's half a blink and there's a car there. Well, the car was traveling in your blind spot and you could not see it. So it's there, you just couldn't see it. So when you're blindsided, that's defined as being surprised or shocked, most often in an unpleasant way. And when you're in a vehicle, to be hit unexpectedly from the side, being blindsided, you did not see it coming. So for example, you might say, oh, we were all blindsided by the news of someone's death or severe illness, or we were out on the highway and we got blindsided by a pickup truck. So let's talk about what that looks like in real life. And this is going to absolutely be a real life example. So we have a family first mentality here at Mindset Mechanics. You know, life is about relationships, and obviously Juan and I are married and we have Noodle and Doodle, our son and daughter, but we also have the families that we were born into. So we have parents and siblings and all of that good stuff. So because we have family that listens to the podcast, and out of respect and dignity, I'm not going to go into great detail, but what I will say is we were having a regular day, just like you would be driving down the street thinking that you're having a regular day. You're on your way to the market, you're on your way to work, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's this crash. You have been blindsided. So oftentimes in relationships, family things, the phone will ring or you'll get a text message and everything was fine. The phone will ring, you will pick up the phone, and then things are not fine. And that is what happened to us on last week. So we get a phone call, things are not fine. We have been blindsided. We have to run around. We have to shift some things around. We have to make some arrangements. Family first. And so we're handling all of that. And Juan has to travel. And then I say, well, we're going live now. How is that going to work with us being separated? It's fine. We can do it with technology, all of those things. And what I need on my end in order for us to do that is with him on his end, where he is with with extended family. So then I had to answer the question, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle it? It has happened. I can't do anything about it. There is not enough time for him to pop what I need in the mail and get it to me before the episode has to be up. So I had to make a decision. And there's a part of me that feels like I am taking a step backward by not being live for you guys on camera. But the way that things worked out is just the way that things worked out. So even though we were blindsided, ultimately, we didn't want to quit. We didn't want to not show up. So even though we are apart, even though there is a lot going on, if you think about a crash, EMS shows up, fire and rescue shows up. There are lots of things to clean up. Damage has been done. Assessments have to be done. Most likely money has to be spent that you didn't plan to spend, that you may not even have, but you do what you have to do. So when you are blindsided, just like when we talked about the flood zone recently, the first thing you have to do is not panic. Your most valuable asset Well, it's going to be prayer. It's going to be the Lord. But as a human being, your most valuable asset is going to be your mindset. It is going to be how you think. It is going to be, are you someone who panics when something happens unexpectedly? If you are driving and you get hit, do you start swinging the steering wheel around wildly, or do you take your hands off the wheel and cover your eyes? So you still need to keep your eyes on the road. You still need to think clearly. You still need to plan as best you can in that moment about what to do next. So you take a deep breath. These are my suggestions to you. Take a deep breath. The first question is this something I can control or something I cannot control? If it's something you can control it. If it's not, you pray and do what you can do, and then God will do what you can't do. The second thing you need to do is get some rest and make sure you've had enough to eat. And I know how that sounds, but when people get into situations, especially high stakes situations, high stress situations, when you are dealing with family, when you are dealing with people's futures, when you are dealing with people's health, when you're dealing with major financial things, it is very easy to make bad decisions. For instance, my husband had to travel. He had to travel quite far. He had to drive there. It's never a good time to jump out of the car after having driven for hundreds of miles and start making decisions. You still need to get some rest. You need to get some food and some water, and you need to have a clear head. So even when you are in a high stress situation, a high stakes situation, do not rush into making decisions and agreeing to things when you are angry, when you're lonely, when you're tired, when you're hungry. Dr. Charles Stanley talks about HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. The more of those things you are at one time, the more likely you are to make a bad decision. So even though you have been blindsided, you can still keep your wits about you. And there are certain things that you can do to ensure that you have better outcomes. And that is what I have in my rear view. Being blindsided is a part of life. You walk in on Friday with a job, and a couple of hours later, you walk out and you no longer have a job. Now, it might be your first instinct to punch somebody in the face because you know you've been loyal to this job for years. You've given up time with your family. You've given up activities that you wanted to participate in to be there for this job, to be loyal, to be a good employee, which you should be, but you've gone above and beyond. And then on Friday, you go in, and sometimes it's an email. They don't even bother to come and talk to you face to face. But if you make some type of error, they will absolutely pull you in and tell you face to face that you've made an error, and they will give you that lovely little plan of correction and all of that. So you've been blindsided. You thought you had a job and you don't. But that doesn't mean you lose your temper. That doesn't mean you go off. And it also doesn't mean that you should jump online and give this horrific review where you're blasting the company, which your new employer is your potential employer is going to find, because employers do a social media search now, especially if you have a higher profile job. And if you've said anything crazy, they're going to find it, and it can block you from a new opportunity. Thank you, Jesus. I don't know who that was for, but obviously it needed to be said. So yes, oftentimes people do us wrong. Things happen. You get hit suddenly. You think you have a relationship, and your spouse comes home on a random day and says, I don't want to be with you anymore. After years, after children. That doesn't mean you burn the house down. That doesn't mean you attack them. You have a financial advisor and they've lost your money. That doesn't mean you go down there with a weapon and threaten people's lives. And these are all things that have happened. And I'm sure you have your own stories of people who have been blindsided, and they have reacted horribly. They have reacted in ways that have permanently altered or ended their lives, other people's lives. So we have to be careful. Being blindsided is a part of life, but how you react is 100% in your control. And there are people whose sole purpose is to get you to act out of character, to try and destroy your reputation. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and it can be lost in a minute. In the age of social media, we know this to be true. One 10-second video, one 5-second clip of someone running up on stage and slapping someone because you don't like a joke that they told, and it can permanently damage your reputation. So being blindsided is a thing, but being destroyed by it does not have to be a thing. You recover. You do the best you can with what you have, which is all you can use, from where you are, which is the only place you can be. And Colossians 4:2 says, never stop praying. Be ready for anything by praying and being thankful. That lets me know if I stay prayed up, if I, like Juan likes to say, keep my head on the swivel, which is another way of saying be sober, be vigilant, keep your wits about you. It says be ready for anything by praying and being thankful. Being thankful that it could be worse. Being thankful that you're alive to hear the news. I know how that sounds. But sometimes the call that you get is telling you that someone's life is over. So in a nutshell, just remember, you can't control what happens, but you can control how you react. At the end of the day, that's what matters most. You can get hit unexpectedly, but you do not have to die in that crash. So thanks for stopping by the shop. I trust it helped. I'm Ladybug Jenkins, reminding you that it's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. And when you do that, you can accelerate into the life of your dreams. Amen.
Thanks for stopping by the shop. Tune in next Mechanical Monday so you can get the tools to find, face, and fix your mindset and accelerate your life.